I'll be honest with you. Okay, maybe that's a little bit much because boop, 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 for like 5 hours. Yeah.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion, and we are here joined by a wonderful guest. Oh,
Mow the lawn.
hey, been like 2 years since you
Hey.
came on last. Well, technically, it's your third time since I worked the last time, but you know.
All good, all good. Oh, yeah, happy to be back.
Oh, so what have you been up? So what have you been up to since you were last on the podcast a while back? It's been 2 years, give or take.
Yeah, roughly. So let's see, since then, I did leave Rizumu, which
Mm.
no problems there or anything. I still love all the staff and everyone who helps out there and everything, and still support that group. Matter of fact, they invited me to their 6 year anniversary party just a couple weeks ago, and
Oh,
that was pretty fun. I had captivated there to VJ for me, and she did an awesome job. At least all the times that I could pay attention to the screen. um, and yeah, it was a really fun lineup and everything. Really fun party. But yep. So I left Rizumu, and I think I was talking to you about like some transcend reality stuff.
hmm.
And then transcend reality group changed, and basically Loyoko was a part of that, and then some people left. No issues there or anything. They just had to kind of deal with some stuff, and basically I joined officially. I joined Loyoko,
Mm.
and we've done like some parties. We're still working on some parties, but did a San Francisco show IRL
Mm.
in August, and that was really fun. Um, and yeah, we're working on more and everything, so that's exciting. And actually, since then too, they've also changed names.
Oh.
We did a rebrand to Vextra, and with that, we're also doing a label. So hoping to get like producers, whether it's from Vrchat or IRL, and doing kind of a UK based kind of underground kind of sound to it. So yeah, really excited about that, and it's been really fun working with them. And then I'm still doing some sushi house events, just helping out Sarasan, Nerusan, and just basically, I'll try to pick out some North American and EU DJs, and they pick out like the Asia Pac side, and it's always kind of a mishmash. There's usually like roughly like every other Tuesday morning, U.S. time, or evening Japan time, and yeah, we'll just get a mix of DJs, all house, any house. Um, and that's always fun. It's been hard for me to kind of go to some of the Tuesday mornings now. Now that my job has like I'm in IT, but my
Mm.
job has returned me to the office.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I'm in the office more, and so it's kind of hard for me to join some of those. Like if I wake up early enough, and like maybe I'll catch like maybe like an hour or so, but it's usually like our big rush and a big busy day on Tuesdays for me. So um, it's gotten kind of hard. But we've also done like North American prime time events, like at least roughly once a Friday, once a month, and a kind of similar kind of mix of DJs, and then it's just more North American time, so it'll probably be like 10 or 11 p.m. Central, and it'll go on for like 5 to 6 hours. Because then it's like Saturday afternoon for them, early afternoon for them, into getting into the evening time. So, yeah, that's always been a blast. Other than that, like, just been traveling. A lot of travel between the Vextra thing and then also Four Seasons. There's a European group, some Club Reality people, some other people, and subsystem people or hardbox people that basically curated a lineup. It's a lot of European DJs, but Rob Roman's voice and I were the Americans invited to that, and so we went out there, and that was a blast. Never been to the Netherlands. Never been to Belgium either. It took place in the Netherlands, like I think it's called like Amersfoort.
Mm.
And it's like south and east of like by 40 minutes from Amsterdam, and really beautiful town. It's like it's actually kind of interesting. You get like definitely the old part of the city, because it's like kind of basically within a fort kind of deal.
Mm.
And that's cool. But then there's like modern buildings around and stuff. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I met people out there that I've known for years, like Medlish and
Oh.
Merles, and yeah. So it was like really cool to see some people that I haven't seen in a while, or seen at all IRL, really, and then some newer faces as well. It was great hanging out with Rob, and yeah, I had a great time out there. I was out there for like a little over a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and yeah, check out what I could. And so that just between that and then like traveling, well, I haven't really, what do I want to say, it's kind of been interesting since the pandemic kind of let off, because it's like I traveled to Amsterdam or Netherlands, Belgium this year. Last year was UK, Ireland, and the year before that was Japan. So it's like been kind of hopping around the world a little bit, and it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool doing that kind of stuff. So, and then I don't know what next year will, or well, this year will be like, other than my wife and I are expecting a kid, so I'll be busy with that, and you know, probably won't hop around as much because of that, which is fine. But yeah, other than that, just been kind of somewhat taking it easy. Still DJ around a little bit, trying to learn to produce. I've been saying that for like a while, and time has not really been on my side. And not to say like time is still on my side, but I'm like trying to ease up on some stuff and just trying to like really focus on that. And my goal for like 2026 is to actually release something. So, really hoping I do that. I just have some fun ideas in my head, and I've recorded them and got the tools and stuff. I just need to kind of hunker down and just run with it. So,
Wow, sounds like you've been up to a
yeah.
lot. It's been sounding like you've been very busy.
Yeah. Yeah. It tends to be that way, but all in all, it's still pretty fun. I mean, I'm still having a great time.
Hmm. So since then, it sounds like you've been doing a lot more stuff in outside of VR in the real world, with travel the world doing sets, as well as with Vextra that used to be Transcend Reality.
Yep. With some of that, and I've DJ'd IRL locally as well. Just kind of getting to know the IRL scene. Just meeting people, meeting with promoters and stuff, and shoot, even like some of them like know what VR is. Like I kind of basically told one venue owner this, and he got like super excited because he's like,
Mm.
He's even seen like one of the Vrchat documentaries on like underground raves and stuff, and
Wow.
so that kind of really piqued his interest, and um, so yeah, and actually, I'm kind of hoping to do a little bit of stuff with that here this year too.
Oh wow.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, in some sense, I was kind of doing some of that stuff with like Transcend Reality and Lyoko. There's some other things I kind of want to do, even locally, and we'll figure it out.
Hmm. Well, on the topic, I remember back when you were on last time when it was Transcend Reality, you were telling me about portals and stuff. If you're planning on pulling more like locally people in as well as other producers and venue owners out in the real world, how how would you approach that? Do they usually are they receptive to VR and the idea of what you do or the is rave scene over this way?
Yeah, overall, yes, they've been receptive. It's not so much that they're like, what do I want to say? Not all of them have been like, oh, I really want to do something like tomorrow or something like that.
Mm,
Because one part of it is like, it is, it's one thing to talk about it, and it is another thing to kind of see.
mm,
And of course, I've been like running around a lot. It's been kind of hard for me to kind of show some of that stuff to a point. Um, but there is a promoter I've talked to that is actually like interested in doing something here soon. I won't get further into that, but because I still gotta hash out some stuff and whatnot.
of
But
course.
yeah, there's definitely an interest in, you know, at least if I have like cell service on my phone or something, like I'll show them a video of like this is like literally me, and they've seen me DJ live IRL, but then like to see me like move around in VR and stuff and basically do some of the same stuff, but it's like, you know, connected with the world and all the lights and graphics and stuff, and you know, just a different level of, you know, immersion and music, and to have them see that, they're like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So you know, if I do some more like stuff locally here, I mean, I think more people will kind of see that kind of stuff and get kind of intrigued. And you know, shoot, even like I'll say throughout their like four seasons as well. You know, people, some people saw the portal, and some people never really understood like the VR aspect of it. Oh shoot, even like any other events I've done, it's just like you see like someone like in a screen, like, oh, that's from VR, someone from like Australia or the UK or something, and they're just waving and, you know, reacting to you and can kind of talk to you, or communicate with you, and you know, just really blows their mind to it. Matter of fact, there's one funny thing with like one of the Transcend Reality events we did in Portal. The guy did like a backflip, and they were like, "Do a backflip," and he did a backflip, and everyone was like, "Oh, freaking out!" Like, "Oh, that's really cool." so, so for people to actually see that kind of interaction, it's just like it kind of blows their mind.
I'm sure. Now, what goes into running one of those portals masks? Because I've only participated in looking through it, never on the other side of it. Is it a easier, difficult, or cheaper, expensive thing to run?
um, mm, it depends on, I guess, what you're trying to go for, the quality of it, and everything. So, I mean, technically, you can set like a webcam, and you know, you can basically record off that, send it off. I mean, not really any different from like a DJ set kind of deal. You're just
Mm,
like, you know, you're streaming that recording out, and then we capture it and, you know, play it, um, and kind of vice versa a little bit. And you know, just playing off of that, and then from there it's just like, you know, the quality of the camera, you know, the speed of the internet at the venue, because one big thing is, you know, you need to have some bandwidth in there, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to capture anything. It's just going to be blocky or just drop off.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, we've used some like webcams in the past and some nice cameras and just making sure there's internet in the venue, and then just kind of go from there. So it's not too difficult. But it depends on what kind of level you're trying to bring it. Oh, I guess my shoe just decided to kick the camera. That was random.
It wouldn't be VR if there
Suddenly, shoe.
suddenly shoo. It wouldn't be VR without the funny tracking problems.
Yeah, exactly. So
Oh,
yeah.
so
And then you can expand it further. So Four
hmm,
Seasons did this, and I thought this was amazing. And I honestly
oh,
don't know how they did that, but they had a printer at a
hmm,
portal, and in Vrchat now you can share images and stuff, and it'll print, like do like this photography print and print it
yeah.
out, and I can hand it to you and stuff. The moment that someone does that, it prints that image. So not only we
Oh
saw
wow.
like people having prints out, but it was actually in IRL as well. And you could take that and just wave it into the camera and stuff. So I don't know if it's like an OSC thing or what, but I was like, that's pretty cool. Like I've never seen anyone do that. I mean, prints haven't been around that terribly long either, but like to
Hmm.
actually like hook into that and like just print it off. So there's like literally this printer with like so many sheets of paper all around with so many different memes. It was getting crazy there. But yeah, kudos to Four Seasons on that, because I was like, they kind of took that to another level there.
I'm sure that mechanic being able to share prints and with each other, I'm sure that gave a very memorable experience to both parties in terms of being able to share their favorite memes and going to see a portal and interacting in a way that they weren't entirely expecting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, so how much has Vextra, or that used to be Transcend Reality, changed since we last spoke? Is it just a name change, or was like a mission statement change too?
So to clarify, Transcend Reality was a mix between Seventh Dimension and Loyoko.
Hmm.
And Lyoko has always been around. Um, Seventh Dimension has been around, and so there's like a bit of overlap between the groups and the Transcend Reality name, and so Loyoko just basically kept going. Seventh Dimension hasn't really done an event in a bit, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, everybody's doing their thing and whatnot, and but it's just more so the Lyoko side kind of carried on, and then I more so joined them because I was technically through Seventh Dimension on that, and then from there, the rebrand was just more so coming from Loyoko itself.
Hmm.
So now it's Vextra, and then we're still doing live events, because they were still doing shows even in like Tokyo, Osaka, and whatnot, and San Francisco. And then we did a show still as Loyoko because it was just before the brand name change, um, but still intending to do live events with that. Kind of some similar stuff with Transcend, and then takes it further with like still doing VR events. I know there's some cool plans with that. And then there's merch. There was some merch released as Loyoko. Now we're doing it as Vextra, and then doing the label, which again is like kind of that UK underground sound, and doing pretty cool, opportunities with that. Trying to release compilations, trying to release, music under that, and yeah, see where it takes us from there.
Oh, so I've with the music label, what is in the plans for that? I think I've only seen a handful of groups do a similar thing with creating music label out of a group here in Vrchat. What are the plans for that, Mask?
Um, I hate to say this. There's probably not a whole lot I can talk about at this moment, sadly.
Fair.
Um, but um, but yes, it is cool to see other groups also doing labels as well. Um, like Narshwal was doing Kinicity. Gosh, I hope I said that right. Kinicity. Shelter, of course, 2TD is doing ShelterNet. Um,
Bobby
and
J
yeah,
as well.
Bobby J, Baptism, and yeah, so it's actually really cool to see that, and I hope more groups kind of do that stuff because I know that even as a VR DJ, like there is a point, like I've done a lot of shows with a lot of groups, and there's a point, some people are making for choices. Some are content with doing the VR stuff alone. There are some
Mm.
things that people want to branch out IRL, and with like say the San Francisco show this year, I was like trying to pull Wake into the lineup,
Mm.
uh, and it's like help kind of curate the lineup and kind of get a mix of VR people with some IRL people like Dirty Snatcha and whatnot, and just create a really fun lineup, and just kind of full sending it from there. Um, and kind of along with that, hopefully we can tie in some label stuff there, and then yeah, yeah, just I think the biggest thing right now is just we're trying to gather people, and I know there's going to be more information released soon, and people will know how to kind of join up on that more,
Mm.
and just kind of see where it takes us from there.
Okay. So with I'll say current emergence of labels in VRChat either intertwining or coming out of, does this kind of dichotomy change or affect the VR DJ scene at all through your experience?
Yes, yeah. And matter of fact, I think I was trying to get to that because, like, in part, I'm happy doing like IRL shows, and then creatively in my mind, like I've always liked, I've played saxophone, I played piano, I've sang in choir and stuff, played a little bit of guitar, and now doing the DJing stuff, and so I jumped around in music a bit, and I still really enjoy it, and so it's like from there I want to actually make something, and I know that's definitely a avenue that some DJs started kind of going into. And matter of fact, one really good point is Oxide
Mm.
was trying to started a Discord server for people wanting to learn how to make music, learn how to produce. And so I'm in there. I just give myself time on that. But I know some other people have joined in on that and are taking like they're offering lessons and stuff, and so they're kind of learning how to make that music so they can go and create something, distribute it, and you know see where that takes them. Because I will say, like, playing some of the IRL shows has been awesome, but I know even to a point I'm kind of limited with
Mm.
that. And it depends on like how, I guess, content or what you want to do. Because some people don't do this, and they just want to be DJs, and that's totally fine. Um, and then I know to play like certain shows too. Some of these promoters also look at follower count, and you know um, they basically gauge and kind of determine, like, based on your whatever kind of event that they're throwing, if there's some sort of theme to it, how much pull do you have, and kind of figure in like, am I going to be able to sell tickets that way? So in a business aspect, I kind of get it. I kind of somewhat honestly hate a little bit of that too, because not everyone who has, oh gosh, I gotta be careful I say this too. Uh, there are some people with not a lot of followers, but they have really great choices in taste and in music and stuff. And so it's kind of hard for them to kind of get noticed or, um, you know, picked up, for shows, if they don't really have that big follower count. So, I mean, to a point, you're networking with, the promoters and stuff, but shoot, I had an opportunity even like say in Dallas, and that dude, like, it kind of sucked because I was referred by him, but or by a friend, but I don't know, like they were more in the Instagram world. And that's also a problem with like social media aspects too, like how things are kind of broken apart. You have your Twitter community, you have your Blue Sky community, you have your Instagram community. Oh gosh, Facebook and Snapchat. And I'm on all of those, and I kind of have to be because there's certain groups that I've worked with that interact in different ways. So Instagram's kind of on the lighter side. Facebook and Snapchat, I hate using it. I'll be honest with you. I kind of hate using it, but I have to because that's what my local scene uses. So, but I mean, they know me, and I've played shows with them and stuff continuously, and that's always been great. But something like this Dallas one, I won't say who, but they really cared about the follower count that I had in Instagram, and they were like, well, can you sell tables and stuff? They were trying to get me to like try to sell VIP tables, and I'm like, I don't know if I can. It's like, I'll definitely share the word. And I tell them like, I think it's like a 2.7K follower on Twitter. It's like, well, I'll share it on there and stuff, but they were kind of being a little weird about it because they see like my Instagram thing is not really that busy. Um, so, and it's hard to keep up. It's really hard to keep up with everything because, even, especially with how Elon kind of broke up Twitter a little bit, there used to be some tools that you could like, and they may still somewhat exist, but like, be able to like distribute to multiple social media platforms. And I haven't quite done that. And, I don't know. It's just really hard to keep up with everyone on like all these different social media platforms. So, but because they kind of pull that, they, or look at that, it's like, sometimes you might have a struggle in trying to get on a show and whatnot. So, I know to a point with like releasing music and stuff, it kind of adds followers. But, even though, what do I want to say? Even though I'm kind of interested in some of that stuff and whatnot, like I'm kind of more so like I actually, once I start making music and roll it out, like honestly really don't care what happens at this point. If it's like, if it takes off, cool, and if it doesn't, that's totally okay. Because I'm still enjoying what I'm doing, and yeah, I'm still pretty happy. So
I can imagine trying to juggle multiple social media platforms. Only recently was I suggested I do the same between Instagram and TikTok, and you got Threads and Blue Sky and Twitter, and trying to keep up with it and cross promoting, copy pasting. It's I can understand it can be very daunting trying to deal with all that while also trying to, but there is a good thing in doing that, which, as you kind of hint on a little bit, is you enter each little community that which only uses that. Like those who swear by X won't go on Blue Sky, and those who swear by Blue Sky won't go to X, and vice versa. So you get a chance to like breach into each of those little places by doing that, though. There's a benefit to it.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And matter of fact, like that's even within Vrchat itself that it's kind of broken up. Like you got more the North American, European DJs, kind of more on the blue sky side of things, and then you have the Japanese crowd that are still on the Twitter side and everything. So it's kind of interesting, you know. There are some Japanese DJs that have blue sky, but then some either kind of dropped off because it just wasn't really that active for them and for their group. And so whenever I've advertised for like sushi house and stuff, like, you know, I'll retweet Sarasan's stuff, but then I'll have to like, you know, post, you know, on my side or the blue sky side. And um, so there's a little bit of a breakup there too that I've seen.
Hmm. Question for you is, how do you juggle all of those different platforms, cross promotion, and trying to keep up with things? Mask.
Carefully.
I can
Um,
understand. I can understand that.
uh, it's honestly really hard because it's like, you know, there are certain formats that certain things go by. You know, Instagram has that specific box, and, you know, Twitter may be a little bit different. You can have up to four, and, you know, maybe Instagram you can throw just a little bit of music in there, and, you know, there's enough different things about it, and, you know, the sizing and all that stuff. It's just like, okay, now I have to adjust for this and whatnot. I will say, you know, there's one part of extra that does like the social media aspect, and they're really good. She's really good at like, you know, modifying things for different social media platforms. And yeah, Shenan's really awesome. But yeah, there's quite a bit of work. It sometimes take
Mm,
dedication, and then like for me, I'll just honestly, more so if it's an IRL show, I'll try to post probably things more everywhere. The VR stuff, you know, it's been a little bit more frequent where time wise with other things going on, you know, it's kind of hard to do that. And I'll try to at least post on Blue Sky, you know, sometimes Twitter. It's a little bit harder on Instagram. I'm trying to push that harder. And gosh, I guess a little bit of Facebook and whatnot, but it gets kind of hard. And not only that, it's also kind of like world collapsing to me in some sense because it's kind of interesting to throw stuff out there, that VR stuff, to the IRL people that I've seen or met up with, and vice
mm,
versa. You know, the IRL stuff into the VR stuff. And you know, if someone happens to ask, or if they're on my Discord, you know, I'll try to explain some things. You know, it's like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're trying to do. And you know, sometimes that, you know, causes people to kind of cross over and check things out. You know, I've had some VR people show up to some IRL shows I've done, and then some people on the IRL side either check out a stream or actually try to hop in, you know, in VR. If it doesn't happen often because not, you know, not many people have headsets, but you know, I'll try to explain to them. It's like, well, you don't have to have a headset. You know, you could just have, you know, load up the desktop application and, you know, be able to jump in. So I've shown some people from the IRL side into VR and kind of check things out, and you know, they think it's pretty cool. So
mm.
um, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing. And you also mentioning before you've done some IRL shows. Would you mind telling us about them? How'd they go? What was the experience like?
Yeah. So there's an event on Wednesdays at a cocktail bar that has a really nice lighting system, some video board stuff, and then a sound system. But they actually, weirdly enough, don't have their own decks, which I'm actually kind of surprised at this point, to be honest with you, because like they've had so many shows there that I'm like, you guys just really should have a deck or something. So, but I get it too because some DJs, I would expect them to be kind of a little bit rough with it too. So I don't know,
Hmm.
but I guess that's what's insurance for. Like I've seen another venue. They were actually. I played one of their shows actually, and weirdly enough, like there was like people like Must Die out there, Darude, Darude Sandstorm. That's like
Yep.
do 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 do. He was there, and I was like 3 feet away from me.
It's
That was like really
crazy.
cool to meet up with them. Yeah. And then, but I played a show with the owner after that, and then he took a hiatus,
Hmm.
which kind of sucked to see. But between early on when I was talking to him about all that stuff, and then did shows with him, and then stopped, like that deck was destroyed, or not destroyed, but it was definitely worn. Um, Faders, the tables just kind of actually sunk in and whatnot, and it's kind of spooky to see because like they're super nice. They're all like CDJ 3000s, and the nicest mixer, and gosh, really nice equipment, and it's just like look kind of battle torn a little bit, but but they were fun to play on them. I hope the Wednesday thing, it's like called After Dark Wednesdays, and it's in Iowa. They what DJs will do is just bring in their own deck for that. So unfortunately, I have to haul my XDJ XZ, which means I have a flight case. It's like already a big, like it's like two CDJ platters and a mixer like glued together. You could say that on like one screen.
Hmm.
And I throw it in a flight case, and it's like over 100 pounds with everything in it. And I'm
Oh.
like hauling it up from the basement, like unplugging everything, put it in, haul it up, bring it into my car, and then take it out, bring it into the club, hook it up, and then undo the reverse process from there. Um, it sucks having to do that, um, but I do have fun with that group. A lot of really interesting DJs, and that one is kind of more multi-genre and stuff. And and yeah, and usually towards the end of the night, it gets more kind of bass heavy, and that's kind of influenced by the scene, and the scene is kind of honestly, interestingly, like kind of almost heavy bass, dubstep crowd,
Oh wow.
which I was not expecting when I first got into the scene where you know I I've grown up in Iowa. I've always heard country, and very few stations like the oldie station, pop station, turn to country. And I'm like, why would you guys do this? Like, I hate this. And so, like, coming into a club like this, was like, I didn't know what to expect. But with some VR stuff, it's like, I didn't know what to expect, but I was kind of honestly more expecting like house or country. And while this group kind of does some house stuff, there's actually a big following on the dubstep side. In fact, there's a group called Jammers that I've done shows with a few times already. They'll do it on a like say third Saturday of the month, and have a usually a heavy bass event. Sometimes they'll kind of mix some things up, like do a drum and bass event or a house event or techno event or something. But generally, it's been pretty heavy bass rhythm kind of stuff, and
Hmm.
yeah, that kind of surprised me, to be honest. But like someone like Mustai came over and played, Turnian Sound played, and that was really cool to see. And so actually there's been some promoters that are doing some pretty good work and trying to bring some like big talent into Iowa, and you know yeah, I think that's really awesome. And so whenever I've done like shows with them, I've definitely thrown some dubstep, maybe even a little bit of rhythm. But I'll throw in, drum and bass. I'll throw in mid tempo. I'll throw in UKG. Um, just other like bass type of music,
Mm.
but doing a little variance and stuff. And sometimes I'll just jump around in genres, like kind of like what I've done in VR, just to get people like kind of intrigued or kind of glued in a little bit because I'm like, I'll be honest with you, like I like dubstep. I do like rhythm. I can totally understand if you're doing like 5-6 hours of rhythm, like I'll be honest with you, okay, maybe that's a little bit much because boop, 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 for like 5 hours. Yeah. But all right, I get the point. But I don't know. That's also just me too, not like keeping focus or being interested for like long enough for like a particular thing. Like I'll still do like definitely like all drum and bass if it's a drum and bass event, all techno if it's all techno kind of stuff. But I do like to do a lot of variants and stuff, and I know my scene. I feel like my local scene could, see more or kind of like I just basically want to expose them to like some other genres and stuff, and like um, catch their eye and stuff. Like there's one thing that I did with like one of the promoters, and I actually convinced them to do a drum and bass event, and people showed up to that, and then basically the feedback from some of the crowd was basically like, this is awesome, like we need more of this, like we want more drum and bass. And
Mm.
I hate to say this, but to a point, like some of the promoters haven't really quite responded very well on that. Like I feel like they could do well, if they threw in another drum and bass event, or but I know there's only like so much like the promoters can do. um it kind of also depends on like what they're trying to do for an image. Like one of them
Mm.
that I mentioned um started doing more house focused stuff, which is okay, but I don't know. I'm trying to push the promoters, get trying to get people more exposed to all these other genres, and then hopefully more people are interested in UKG and mid tempo and stuff. And like and when I have played those sets, like I've usually gotten pretty good feedback from that. And then they'll look me up and find me on SoundCloud or something, and and try to kind of follow along there. So yeah.
Cool. So within your real life, doing sets and shows in real life and as well as VR, is the taste in music different in terms of people what they generally like here versus what they generally like over and outside the headset? Are they the same or different, or how people respond to new music? Hello, friend. I hope you're enjoying the current video. We'd actually like to inform you that we do some other shows and content as well. We have a whole bunch of interviews from the Metaverse Degen podcast, which you can find over in the main YouTube channel or on Spotify. We also do a D&D actual play called Hold My L, which you can find on the same Metaverse Degen network channel as well as Spotify under Hold My L. If you're interested in either of those things, we create other shows and plan on making more in the future. If you want to check out our social media to find out when those new shows or other stuff we're doing is, feel free to go to metaversedegen.card.co. We have all of those links for you to watch, and we also have a Patreon over there as well, where we have been posting the pre-show content for Hold My L. So whenever like conversation or talk about things, maybe lore or whatever's going on, we post that over there as well. As well as we every once in a while pull stuff back from the vault from episodes long gone that are no longer on the channel. We'll post them every once in a while over there. Like for example, we have the old one where the first ever episode we pulled the raptor on. But we'd like to give a huge shout out and thank you to those who have supported us over at Patreon, such as Extra Tricks, Rosen, Aliquum, Future Oracle, and Forbidden Zero. Thank you all so much. You're amazing, and enjoy the rest of your video.
I will say VR is definitely more open-minded, and I think that is just a given, just based on how VR is. I can talk to you from across the country. I can be friends and play music for the Japanese crowd, or the European crowd, and like you basically get all the different likes of those communities and stuff. And so, that's where I get a lot of that exposure. And I think in general, not everyone, but in general, there's kind of more of an open mind, kind of deal for all these genres. But some people just have personal preference, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people really like just house. There's some people who really like just drum and bass, and there's people who really like just dubstep and rhythm, and that's totally fine. Um, and in comparison to the IRL stuff, there's house, there's dubstep, rhythm, and that's kind of the more core, I'd say, genres that is there. But there's a little bit of deviance from stuff, and gosh, I hate to say this. It's kind of funny. You had Rue on in one night. I know Rue said something along the lines of, you know, uh, which to a point is true. I'm trying to catch myself there, but there's definitely a noticeable difference in, um, gosh, I don't know if I want to say like talent or taste that doesn't really match up with VR. Like I feel like in VR, I'm honestly kind of spoiled. And then sometimes the IRL stuff isn't as up into par as like I was kind of hoping it to be. But that said, some of the IRL DJs that I've met up with and everything, some of them are also producers. Some of them are actually doing really cool stuff, and like they actually put on like really, really good sets and everything. And I'm actually kind of impressed as well. But um, it weirdly enough, a lot of the new people I see in VR, I feel like is just there's just a lot of talent, and it's just really amazing. And then I feel like on the IRL side, it kind of just really varies. But I feel like in VR too, what kind of helps with that is like it's like a hyperbolic chamber in some ways. It's a DBZ episode. You feel like you can keep playing. You have a lot more opportunities here, and you can keep playing for friends and people or yourself, and keep practicing, and you just get better and better. And I used to help out with, on the Rizumu side, the launchpad stuff with new DJs, and like I was always impressed with like how well, some people can mix, coming into the scene. And or maybe they've played a little bit somewhere else, but they played some VR communities that maybe I never even heard of, and like they come in and I'm like, holy crap, you just like floored me, like it's just really good. And yeah, I do see a lot of talent here in VR, and there's a difference on the IRL side, but some of the IRL people I've known are pretty good too.
Mm. Well, to be, I'm speaking through secondhand conversations like with you here, but there is a lot more plethora of, as you said, opportunities and choice, and being able to people who would like also pull you into their under their wing in a sense as well. We were talking for as well as abundance of experience, I guess you say. I'll recall back to the VJ Silent we talked with a while back. They mentioned that in VR you
Yeah.
can mess with a shatter screen, which in real life, very different dynamics and how much you would cost to even touch or get near that thing in real life. Whereas here, you can just
Right.
break a screen apart, connect the program, and bing, bang, boom, it works. It's there. You get the experience to use it without
Yeah.
having to spend an ungodly amount of money. So, in a sense, to like play devil's advocate, there is a bunch of choice and variety in terms of the kind of experience you can get here, and you could reach out and get 30 shows in the same night if you so choose.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah, and again, kind of going back to like the community being more open-minded and like, seeing like all the different kinds of music and stuff, and it's just more underground and more, yeah, definitely more options and just, people taking up those opportunities. I know with like Launchpad stuff, I know some people, you know, honestly took a little bit for some of them to get to play for like a main event, like Rizumu event, but like I told him one patience, and the biggest part of that is not that we don't want them or anything. It's just more of like we're just fully booked out, and because again, there's so many talented DJs, and it's like really cool to see. And like I'm trying to work them in. It's just will take a little bit because I already have a big list of people behind that person that I also want to get them in for, and and we only have like X number of DJs, for I think at the time like every other Saturday and whatnot, or maybe at one point every Saturday, and like that's not enough to go through the queue. Like we can't go through it fast enough to do all that. So what I would do then is like if anybody asks, and people could still definitely do this, ask me this today, is just like, hey, I'm starting off here. This is what I like. Where do I go? Who should I talk to get booked and whatnot? If saying like I play a lot of house, well, maybe I want you in Sushi House at some point, or other house friendly events. Vextra, we still have the Island event, um, and JoJo runs that, and we'll definitely pull people who've played house and have them play for that event. And UKG stuff, sometimes Shelter plays some of that, sometimes Tube plays that. Just kind of referring to people to different communities that is like, okay, go try this, go check these people out, and hopefully, they kind of mesh, and overall they do. And at least worst case if one group doesn't work out, there's definitely like plenty of other groups out there that would definitely take them in. So yeah,
Hmm.
just a lot of opportunities, a lot of communities, and it's kind of crazy what's out there. And I've been kind of thankful, to be able to kind of hop around just because I'm all multi-genre, and um, you know, I've been able to kind of like mesh with what vibe that they're trying to go for, but still I still have that kind of personal like twist to it. Things that I like about
Hmm.
UKG, things that I like about dubstep, and just kind of running through there. So um, yeah, I'm just doing all that stuff and the organizing stuff. I just I guess I just gotten to know a bunch of groups, and yeah, I've just been really thankful to get to know a bunch of people and have a good time.
Hmm. I'll ask one last question as well in terms of the uh actually and the difference between the two, I guess, in a sense. When interacting with the different venues as well, like VRChat and real life, do they expect, like, I know there's some places in VRChat that like we only want this genre all the time. Others are like play whatever you want. How is the whole choice of music they want? Is the taste how do they interact with the two between like the places in here and places outside?
um, I think I got your question.
I sounded like Raptor there for a second.
So that's funny. I trying to think. And I think I was touching up on it a little bit on the IRL side. There's definitely what do I want to say. I was talking about like the bass heavy events and
Hmm.
stuff, and you know, I still want to throw drum and bass in there. I still want to throw mid tempo in there. I want to purposely, like, they're not saying like, oh, it has to be dubstep only. They said bass, so I kind of just honestly run with that.
Mm.
And I kind of somewhat do a little bit similar on the VR side, if they're like looking for just bass heavy kind of stuff, maybe I'll throw some other stuff in there that I consider is like, okay, it has some really good punchy bass to it. It's a little different, and I can, a lot of my sets I usually like try to speed things up,
Mm.
get more energy, pick up more energy over time, and honestly, genre hopping like that allows me to do it. I mean, shoot, even like what was it? Four seasons. I went from like 90 BPM to like 220 BPM. Like I
Wow.
just kept increasing, going faster and stuff. And I know it's not always everyone's cup of tea, but it it lets me do an energetic set that I like and try to push out and just expose people to that. So with that, I think I got some really good feedback on the IRL side of things, even though like because I've been to these shows, I've visited it, hung out and everything, and some of it can get pretty just like all dubstep, all rhythm kind of stuff, and it's just like to me. I hate to say this, like to me that's kind of boring to do it for like 5 hours. Like let me just change it up, get people interested and you know shake it up a little bit and get a
Mm.
little bit exposure because then once you do that then some people especially if they're responsive. I can't guarantee everybody will be responsive, but like if I get the response like yeah I want to hear more of that kind of stuff, then then I can let the promoter know, or maybe they already know because the same people like told them. It's like that's really awesome, like I want to hear more of that. And then hopefully then there's more shows that kind of push those kinds of genres and stuff. But with VR, it's just a little bit easier. There's just simply some groups that are purely like, we're open, feel free to play anything. Some of them do have specific theme nights.
Mm.
And then some of them are pretty, strict. You know, Sushi House, to be honest with you, is like, house only event. So like typically we fully expect house. Uh,
Mm.
but it could be any kind of house. It could be Afro house, could be disco house, could be bass house. It could be different variations. There's actually still enough variations in there um, to really kind of mix some things up. And and then there's other groups that kind of do some similar stuff. It could be drum and bass. Baptism. I fully expect drum and bass to be played at baptism because that's their thing. It's all drum and bass. Um, but then like Rizumu is pretty open. Yeah, just other groups that are pretty open, and I think the more that you see the openness and everything, I think overall more people are kind of accepting to it. But if they have a certain image that they're trying to portray or a certain theme, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. They can do that, and people can check them out. And if people are not up for house and want to go somewhere else, they can certainly do that too. So and that's kind of the beauty of it on VR is just you have that choice to just hop around and stuff. So whereas IRL, you can't. It's hard to go event to event to event because there may be only one event that night. At least in my town. I don't know
Mm.
about like other towns, other cities. There might be some more events in other cities, but even then, like you know, they kind of vary too. And um, San Francisco's a bit more open. Denver, I would say, is a little bit more bass heavy type stuff, but they
Mm.
have some variations. Dallas also has some, dubstep heavy kind of stuff. So, and
Mm.
even like these different communities have like a different sphere of influence, if it's bass heavy or if it's house or if it's techno, and so there's kind of a general drive for that. But there's not to say that someone decides to throw like an underground show or something, and it's a techno night here, or like honestly just any genre type of night, and they're full sending it. And hopefully especially on my side, IRL side, I can try to push like a little bit more mix of genres and have people get exposure to that. But I think it's a little bit harder on the IRL side, a little bit. But I mean, I know some people hearing, say dubstep all the time. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but like, to hear something different, something else, I think it's like really cool, and it does pique their interest. From what I found is like, what's this that you played in the beginning? Like, oh, mid tempo, like, yeah, like Res and stuff, or like maybe
Hmm.
someone might recognize it as like, oh yeah, that's Res. You played Res stuff. I'm like, yep. so it piques their interest.
Hmm. Thank you very much for answering that. I very much appreciated hearing that. So you mentioned a few times, and also you're doing stuff with them. What is Sushi House, and how did you get started getting involved with them?
um, so Sushi House, it's more so. I should really say it kind of goes back to knowing Sarah-san, uh,
Mm.
Sarah Kai, and I've done a lot of stuff with Sarah-san. Sarah-san's a really good friend. He's out in Japan, and I actually met up with him IRL when I was out in Tokyo, out in
Oh,
Japan, out there, and so it was really good hanging out with him and everything. And but even before then, it kind of falls back a little bit more on the Rizumu days, and especially with Paul Manton,
mm,
because Paul Manton was a huge bridge to the Japanese community, and Sarasan on the Japanese side was kind of doing some similar stuff, trying to pull some North American EU people over. Maybe the Sarasan and Paul would work together to create these kinds of events, kinds of lineups and stuff, and so really they've done a lot of good work themselves. And then as I got into the scene more and then trying to help out more and basically help book some of the Japanese DJs and then, check out some of the Japanese communities. Um, Monday Relief is a good example. Like, I know, I hope I say it right, Zirio-san um, runs Monday Relief, um, and they actually do a lot of open genre and stuff. And I've known them for since 2022, I want to say, or I've known them a little bit in 2021 even, but I played for them 2022. As a matter of fact, I've played like every year with them and everything. But um and getting to know more Japanese DJs, more event organizers stuff. But Sarasan was doing a lot, kind of tie back to Sarasan. Sarasan would run Wednesday night Magenta
mm,
along with Noir at one point. Um, and Daifuku kind of makes that map. And we've had Daifuku over at Rizumu. And yeah, just there was a little bit with Zenith as well, kind of also with Paul and Sarasan. Uh, and other people. And so it's just kind of getting to know from those groups and then kind of just doing more stuff over time with them. And it got to a point where with Sarasan, what do I want to say, like, he was at one point also ran like Showcase. And he would bring in North America and EU DJs to play at like Japanese time events,
mm.
and it was also in Magenta, the Magenta map. And so I ended up helping him out, like, hey, you want to play at like a Japanese show? Like, talk to me, and I'll invite you to the Discord group and whatnot. So I was kind of helping Sarasan there, like, kind of funnel some DJs his way, to be able to have those kinds of opportunities. And then, as time went on, I was helping him a little bit. Once in a while, I'll help him out with like a Wednesday night Magenta event where it's like, hey, I want a turntablist. And then I think one year I had like Northside. and or I need a drum and bass person, or I need this, and then like because they'll run like exclusive nights, like and change different nights. They'll have a drum and bass night, they'll have a house night, they'll have a techno night, they'll have a all these different specialized theme nights, and then I'll try to throw some DJs his way on that. And then Sushi House, I honestly can't remember how the conversation went, but kind of similarly, he was also like asking like, oh, who would be a good house DJ for Sushi House, and then I started, you know, pushing people towards his way, and next thing you know, I was staff. I I didn't ask for it or anything. It just kind of happened actually. But I'm actually really honestly happy to help between Sarasan and Nerusan, who kind of assists with some of the stream stuff, but then also the maybe a little bit of booking, but then also like the map. He's the one who made like the map for like the sushi house, sushi restaurant, and the like all the sushi rotating around and stuff, and then picking up drinks and whatnot. And um, so yeah, I work with those two, and it's honestly just been kind of an overtime thing with Sarasan that I just ended up with Sushi House. And honestly, when I've let go some what I want to say helping out different groups and stuff, I used to be like a bit more involved. Like at one point I was helping like Loner with overflow, and then Tube with overflow and hosting and stuff, and then um Shelter, actually still do. I actually still help them out with overflow from time to time. And gosh, I don't even remember where I was going with that. Sorry.
All good.
I know it's like I know. As I was like letting things go and whatnot, Sushi House was probably one of the ones that I kind of still retained, mainly because it's still an enjoyment for me to like do some booking lineup stuff in VR and still like push people towards the Japanese community, get that little mix and whatnot. And it kind of sucks that I can't help with hosting as much on the Tuesday morning events anymore, but I still really try to help out with the Friday night events as much as I can, as long as I'm not booked somewhere. So I'll stick around for as long as I can. I'll be honest with you, it can get late enough where it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm like dead. So I'll crash, but I was like, until then, like I still try to help out and whatnot, and be there for the DJs and stuff. And but yeah, I still book for them. Still have a good time with them. So
Mm. So I'll ask one last question, which I think we asked you last time, but since it's been a few years since then, since you put on the plastic potato we're both wearing on our faces, have you expected the journey that you've been on? Did you expect any of the things you've done or seen since coming here in Vrchat?
absolutely not. No, I honestly like I'm man, I'm really thankful to like how things kind of came to be, and all the really cool and fun things I've gotten to do. um I what do I want to say? So I joined VR Chat like even back as like late 2017, so even like super early on.
Mm.
And I think I made like a Steam account, and then I got an actual account after, and then like, but I only was on desktop, so like I wasn't really immersed. I wasn't really interested in it. I had some friends that had Oculuses, and um, I didn't have that, and so they were more enjoying the time, and I was kind of like, But in the pandemic, just how things, more talk about VR, Quest and Index and all them, like, and basically, I got for my job, like a bonus. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of want to try the VR stuff. So I bought the VR stuff in like March 2020. And that's when literally like I got my index like literally like the next 2 days, I think. And that day, that Friday, I think it was like the 12th or something, like basically when everything just shut down. I got my VR headset. It's like, well, I guess I got time to, jump around here, and I started playing like Pavlov and, checking out other games. But, um, I did remember Vrchat and I was like, oh, I kind of want to check it out. And, you know, I got to meet up with people. Ultimately, between like Nantisan and um, OBSEC, um, they showed me basically kind of the rave scene on, between MVP and Rizumu and DDVR and early days Shelter. And I was like, oh, this is like really cool. And then, when OBSEC, when he was learning how to DJ and stuff, that got me kind of interested. But then I was like, he's like so focused on his craft and everything. And I was like, you know what? You focus on that. I'll worry about the world, because I didn't want him to stress out about what was going on in the world. And, I just helped host him and, um, you know, try to let him just focus on the DJing stuff. And then Rizumu kind of opened up for hosting. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just, try to host. And I think the first night was like the Shelter collab for helping hosting the overflows for Must Die. And so that was like a big event and everything. So it was kind of wild to like jump into that. But then, between like starting to run shows and stuff, and, they let me run shows, and, I wanted to see different lineups, different mix of people. Not that other people weren't, but, it was just fun doing that like myself, mix things up. Because maybe I might see some typical stuff, and it's like, you know what if I took this person, bring in a new person that's also really talented, and just kind of mash them up. And with Armageddon, that was kind of more of the bass heavy night stuff. And then eventually helped out with Launchpad stuff, and helping events with Zenith, and helping all these other events, and getting to know people, getting into the Japanese community, getting into the European community. And you know it just blew my mind, like all the talent that people have, and just getting to know them. And then it sparked that music, that love of music that I kind of missed earlier when I was younger. I think I was saying this. I was like, I played piano, I played saxophone, I sang in choir, and played a little bit of guitar. And like to do music stuff again, I was like, oh, this is like really fun and everything. And I was supposed to go to Japan April 2020, and with COVID rolling out, especially out in Asia, January into February, I was like, oh, this does not look good. And things kind of, escalated from there. In some ways, I'm kind of thankful. In some ways, like, I'm thankful that I didn't go to Japan until 2023. And although I do like Japan enough, I want to go back. So maybe I did want to go to Japan. I don't know. Um, but even like going out there in 2023, and then going to UK, Ireland 2024, and then Netherlands, Belgium 2025, it's like doing, getting to know people, and performing for some of these groups, and doing all this stuff. And it's like, when I went out there, it just made the trips like, I mean, it's hard for me to compare to, because it's like I've never traveled overseas before that, but it definitely like elevated my experience with, at those trips, because I got to meet up with people I know out there, hang out with them, check out the music scene there, check out this and that, because sometimes they'll be like, hey, you should go check out this restaurant, or hey, you should go check out this building or this store, or this and that. And like, I had so much fun. um and I don't think, before getting the headset, would I have known this was going to happen? Absolutely not. I definitely didn't know I was going to DJ, you know. And then maybe the production stuff, if that goes well, see where that takes me. I don't know where it'll take me. Again, I don't really care if, I hope people like, the music that I'll make. And if people don't, that's totally fine too. But regardless, I'm actually just very appreciative, very happy with how things kind of went to be, and to be where I'm at now. And like, yeah, I'm just super thankful, you know, and I have such a good time with everyone. And just like, it's, even though I'm doing more IRL stuff, it's kind of honestly hard to get away some VR stuff. I have kind of, slowed down that side of things and maybe not shown up as much. There maybe, in the past I was on the weekends or weekdays, sorry. And now it's maybe just the weekends, or if I do hop on, and maybe it's like desktop mode or something, or if I'm traveling, I'm just simply not there. So despite that, I feel like I will always have some sort of, you know, I don't know how I want to say. I was gonna say attachment, but maybe it's that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word. But I always enjoy my time here. I have a good time with people, and I hope to continue that, and just basically do cool stuff together and have fun. So, no, I've never thought I would have gone where I've gone with VR.
Well, thank you very much, Mo, for coming on and allowing us to hear about what you've been up to. It's always a pleasure talking with you. So thank you so very much for your time.
Yeah. Oh, a great talking to you again, and glad we could catch up. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Congratulations on becoming a father.
Yes. Yeah, I can't wait. I've had people send me memes and whatnot of like that little, I don't know if it's like a little Fisher Price DJ set kind of deal, and they could do DJs like your kid dropping the beat at 4 a.m. It's like, a part of me is like, oh my god, am I how am I gonna feel with this? But then at the same time, it's like, it'd be pretty cool to like play around with that, with the kid, and just have fun with it. And yeah, who knows? Like, someone is doing like, or asking like, oh, Moethelawn back to back Moethelawn Junior or something, and yeah, it'd be cool to do. So yeah, I'll probably throw the kid, you know, uh, you know, s get them engaged in music and stuff, and if it's something that they don't really care about, then that's okay too. But yeah, hopefully they're interested, and can have some fun there.
Well, if anyone in the audience wishes to reach out and find you, where would they go to find you?
uh, let's see. Linktree is probably the best way, because that's where all the social media stuff I told you about. So linktr.ee/Moethelawn. That's probably honestly the best way. Twitter, I guess I still kind of use, but just less and less people getting on there. That's like Moethelawn VR. Blue Sky, Moethelawn dot, I forget what they do, bsky.com or something. But it's Moethelawn. Instagram, Moethelawn Music. Facebook, Moethelawn Music. Yeah.
Well, we'll be sure to have all those links for you, the audience member, You go check them out down below. If you're on YouTube, scroll down the video description. It'll be right there for you to find. If you're on Spotify, it'd be over on the same place, but in the episode description. And this one will interact with the audience. And I want to ask you a question this time, but we're going to give ourselves a shameless plug. We have merch now. If you go to the Metaverse Degen card link, we have a fourth wall with a couple of things over that way. Feel free to go check out if you'd like. And close out with a Raptor-esque thing. Go follow Moethelawn and remind him to produce something all year long until he does it. Don't stop until he does it. Moethelawn song win.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna hunker down on that. So I've also had some thoughts of like so speaking of follow, like one thing, you know, if people want to join is like a Discord. It's called Computer Club and Mo's Lawn Care, and it was shared with OPSEC at the time, you know, until he passed. And basically, I've kind of used that to kind of like post some events. I do actually have, I guess I'll throw this out there too. I have a venue in the works.
Oh,
It's kind of goofy to say venue. Home world in the works, I should say, that other people can use as well. I feel bad about it because it's honestly kind of dragged for a little over a year. I hate to say that. But there was some things that, you know, personal stuff that's happened and then OPSEC passed that kind of slowed things down there. But there's some movement there, and I hope to get, you know, something out there soon. But in any case, like the Discord thing, I think it's in my link tree. If people want to follow that, I usually post all the events and stuff that I'm doing, like every single thing. So if there's one center source of things, you know, that Discord is probably honestly the best way. So just throwing it out there.
Oh. Well, they have two things at work. One, remind him to make his music, and two, remind him to finish his venue.
Yeah, I have someone helping me out with that, but it's more on me. It's more on me because there's some things I needed to gather, and now it's getting to a point where that's actually like in a good spot. So yeah, hopefully get that out there very soon.
Or you can combine the two and convince him to play his first song in his venue when it launches. Well,
yeah, there you go.
well, with that said, thank you for joining us. See you in the Metaverse, folks. Bye now.
I wonder if we can ride the train and go inside the fucking over there. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. How big
It
that wall is.
Goes in there and goes around. Why? And it goes around.
Oh, it does. Holy shit.
Fuck yeah, it goes fucking around. I don't know where it goes. Like I said, I just got here. I don't know where everything is.
Huh.
I'm gonna have to check this place out.
Definitely, we're gonna have to.
There's another one. There's another one I gotta show you that It's called the. Yeah, hold on. Another one is called the Cozy Woods. That one's cool.
Oh, okay. We're definitely gonna have to check that out too. There's a bunch we're gonna have to check out.
Yeah, there's some new ones in.